Welcome back to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Facade Crumbles. Elias Thorne sat in his Tesla, fingers drumming against the leather steering wheel as he stared at his house. The garage door remained closed, though Gwen's car was clearly visible through the windows. Something felt off about coming home today, a gut instinct he'd learned never to ignore during his 20 years in software development. At 42, Elias had built himself into a force to be reckoned with in the tech industry. His company, Thorne Solutions, handled cybersecurity for some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley. He'd earned his success through raw intelligence and an unflinching determination to succeed, traits that had helped him survive his turbulent childhood. The memory of his parents' divorce still left a bitter taste in his mouth. He remembered the screaming matches, the accusations, and finally discovering his father's other family. The betrayal had shaped him, forged him into someone who valued loyalty above all else. Someone who wouldn't hesitate to destroy those who crossed him. Taking a deep breath, Elias grabbed his briefcase and headed inside. The moment he opened the door, the scent of expensive perfume hit him. Chanel No. 5, Gwen's favorite for special occasions. His wife stood in their kitchen, wearing a black cocktail dress that hugged her curves in a way she hadn't bothered with in months. "You're home early," Gwen said, her voice carrying a note of surprise that set off warning bells in Elias's mind. Meeting finished sooner than expected. He studied her face, noting the perfectly applied makeup, the careful styling of her honey blonde hair. "You look dressed up." "Oh, this?" Gwen smoothed down her dress with manicured fingers. "I had lunch with the girls from work. Didn't want to change before dinner." The lie slid off her tongue so smoothly that most men wouldn't have caught it. But Elias wasn't most men. He learned to read people like open books, a skill that had served him well in both business and personal life. "How about we go out tonight?" he suggested, watching her reaction carefully. "That new French place you've been wanting to try? I'm actually feeling pretty tired." Gwen stifled an obviously fake yawn. "Rain check." "Of course." Elias loosened his tie, maintaining his neutral expression. "I've got some work to catch up on anyway." He headed to his home office, closing the door behind him. Instead of sitting at his desk, he went straight to his personal laptop, the one connected to the house's security system. He'd installed it himself, high-end cameras with crystal-clear resolution and excellent night vision. Some might call him paranoid, but Elias preferred the term prepared. The security footage from the past few weeks loaded quickly. He started with today, rewinding through the afternoon hours. His jaw clenched as he watched Gwen leave at 11:30 a.m., dressed in that same black dress. She returned at 3:45 p.m., her hair slightly disheveled, lipstick smudged. "Computer, access footage from last Thursday," he commanded, his voice steady despite the rage building inside him. The screen flickered, showing Gwen in the driveway. She wasn't alone. A man stood close to her, too close. Mark Davidson, the new accountant at her firm. Tall, conventionally handsome, and completely expendable. The audio kicked in, their voices clear through the sophisticated microphone system. "God, you're incredible," Mark was saying, his hand resting possessively on Gwen's waist. "When can I see you again?" Gwen giggled, actually giggled like some lovesick teenager. "Tomorrow? I'll tell Elias I'm having lunch with Sarah. He suspects nothing? Please." Gwen's voice dripped with contempt. "He's too busy with his precious company to notice anything. As long as his house is in order and his dinner is warm, he's happy." The footage continued, showing them kiss before Mark left in his BMW. Elias watched it all, his expression growing colder with each passing second. He pulled up more recordings, documenting every meeting, live betrayal. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he downloaded everything to a secure cloud server. The sun had set by the time he finished his investigation. He heard Gwen moving around in the kitchen, probably preparing dinner in an attempt to maintain their routine. As if nothing had changed. As if she hadn't destroyed everything they'd built together. Elias looked at his reflection in the dark computer screen. His face showed no signs of the turmoil within, no hint of the rage, the hurt, the burning desire for retribution. Good. He needed that control for what was coming next. He pulled out his phone and sent a brief text to his attorney, Claire Bellwether. Need to meet first thing tomorrow. Urgent. Then he opened his email and began composing a message to his friend, Benjamin Carter. If anyone could dig up dirt on Mark Davidson, it would be Ben. A soft knock at his office door interrupted his planning. Dinner's ready, Gwen called out. Be right there, he responded, his voice betraying nothing of what he'd discovered. As he stood, Elias caught sight of their wedding photo on the wall. They'd looked so happy then, or at least he had. Now he wondered if Gwen had been playing him from the start, if her entire persona had been carefully crafted to snare a successful husband. No matter. She'd made her choice, and now she would face the consequences. Elias Thorne didn't believe in second chances, not when it came to betrayal. He'd learned that lesson watching his father destroy his mother's trust, her self-worth, her very sense of reality. He'd sworn then that he would never be a victim, that anyone who dared to betray him would regret it until their dying day. Coming, dear, he called out, shutting down his laptop. He would play along for now, let her think she'd fooled him. Let her continue her affair with Mark, thinking they were so clever, so discreet. Let them both grow comfortable in their deception. It would make their eventual destruction all the sweeter. Chapter 2. The Confrontation and a Cold Revelation. The next few days passed in a blur of calculated moves and careful observation. Elias maintained his routine, leaving for work at his usual time, returning home to share mechanical conversations with Gwen over dinner. But beneath this facade of normalcy, he was laying the groundwork for what was to come. His meeting with Claire Bellwether had been productive. The veteran attorney had reviewed the security footage with clinical detachment, occasionally making notes in her leather-bound notebook. The evidence is solid, she'd said, pushing her rimless glasses up her nose. We can file for divorce whenever you're ready. Given the documented infidelity, we can push for a favorable settlement. I don't want favorable, Elias had replied, his voice hard. I want total victory. I want her to understand exactly what she's lost. Claire had studied him for a moment before nodding. Then we'll need to be strategic about this. Timing is everything. He'd spent the rest of the week gathering intelligence. Ben's investigation into Mark Davidson had yielded interesting results. The accountant had a history of office affairs, always with married women, always ending in tears. He'd moved between 3 firms in 5 years, each time leaving under suspicious circumstances. He's careful about documentation, Ben had reported during their secure video call. But I found some interesting emails. Want me to dig deeper? Everything you can find, Elias had instructed. I want to know his weaknesses, his pressure points. And Ben? Make sure this can't be traced back to us. Today marked exactly 1 week since he'd discovered the truth. Gwen had been especially attentive this morning, suggesting they go out for dinner. Her sudden interest in rekindling their relationship might have seemed genuine to someone who hadn't seen her wrapped in Mark's arms just hours earlier. Elias agreed to dinner, watching as relief flickered across her face. She thought she was managing him, keeping him distracted while she carried on her affair. The thought almost made him laugh. They dressed for dinner, Gwen in a red silk dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary, Elias in one of his tailored suits. She'd always appreciated the finer things in life, something her wealthy upbringing had instilled in her. He wondered if she realized how quickly those things could be taken away. At the restaurant, an upscale Italian place they'd frequented during happier times, Gwen was particularly affectionate. She touched his hand across the table, laughed at his comments, played the role of devoted wife to perfection. I've missed this, she said, sipping her wine. We've both been so busy lately. We have, Elias agreed, his tone pleasant but his eyes cold. How's work been? Any interesting developments? Oh, the usual. She waved her hand dismissively. Nothing exciting in accounting. No. He took a slow sip of his whiskey. Not even a new hire? Mark, isn't it? Her hand trembled slightly as she set down her wine glass. Mark? Oh yes, he's fitting in well. Very professional. I'm sure he is. Elias signaled for the check. Shall we head home? I have something I'd like to show you. The drive home was tense, though Gwen tried to maintain conversation. Elias responded with non-committal sounds, his mind already focused on what was to come. He'd planned this moment carefully, considering every possible reaction, potential outcome. Once inside, Gwen moved to kiss him, perhaps hoping to distract him with intimacy. He stepped back, maintaining eye contact as he pulled out his phone. "Before we get carried away," he said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, "I think we should discuss your lunch breaks." The color drained from Gwen's face. "What?" "Your lunch breaks," he repeated, pulling up the security footage. "The ones you spend with Mark, in particularly compromising positions." "Elias," she started, but he cut her off. "I would kiss you," he said, his tone conversational, but his eyes blazing with controlled fury. "But I don't want to taste your lover's filthy mouth." "Funny how you want to kiss me now, after tasting Mark from accounting all afternoon. Here's the video that I already sent to your boss." He turned the phone screen toward her, showing the damning footage. Gwen's legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the sofa, her perfectly made-up face contorting in horror. "You can't, this isn't," she sputtered, trying to form a coherent defense. "Can't what?" Elias's voice remained eerily calm. "Can't protect my interests? Can't gather evidence of my wife's infidelity? Can't ensure that actions have consequences?" Gwen's shock transformed into anger, her features twisting into an ugly snarl. "You bastard! You've been spying on me?" "Spying implies secrecy," he corrected her. "The security system was never a secret. You just never bothered to consider it might catch you in your lies." "This is controlling behavior," she shrieked, jumping to her feet. "You had no right to record me. I had every right to secure my home." He stepped closer, towering over her. "Just as I have every right to protect myself from a duplicitous wife who spreads her legs for the office accountant." "I'll destroy you," she spat, her carefully maintained facade crumbling completely. "Mark, and I will ruin everything you've built. You think you're so powerful? You have no idea what we can do." Elias laughed, the sound devoid of any warmth. "Is that a threat, Gwen? Please do elaborate. I'd love to have your intentions on record as well." She grabbed her purse, hands shaking with rage. "You're going to regret this, Elias. I swear to God, you're going to regret this." "No, Gwen," he said as she stormed toward the door. "You're the one who's going to regret this. Every single day for the rest of your life." The door slammed behind her, the sound echoing through the house. Elias stood motionless, letting the mask of control slip for just a moment. Pain flickered across his features, quickly replaced by determination. He pulled out his phone again, dialing a familiar number. "Izzy?" It started. "I need your help." Chapter 3. The Seeds of Retribution. Izzy Hayes' office at Thorn Solutions reflected its occupant's personality, organized, efficient, and ready for anything. The wall of monitors displayed various project statuses, security protocols, and market analyses. At her glass desk, Izzy listened intently as Elias laid out the situation. "That conniving little witch," she muttered, her dark eyes flashing with anger. "I never trusted her, Elias. Something about her always felt off." Elias nodded, appreciating his friend's loyalty. He'd known Izzy for 15 years, since they'd started the company together in a tiny rented office space. She'd stood by him through every challenge, setback, victory. Unlike Gwen, Izzy's loyalty had never wavered. "Ben's been digging into Mark's background," he said, pulling up files on his tablet. "The results are interesting." "Define interesting." Izzy leaned forward, her professional curiosity piqued. 7 workplace affairs in the past 5 years. All married women, all ending in disaster. He's careful about documentation, but not careful enough. Elias smiled grimly. Ben found emails, hotel receipts, even a few compromising photos. Mark's married too. Wife named Olivia. She has no idea what kind of man she married. Jesus. Izzy shook her head. "What's your play here?" "First, we protect the company. Gwen threatened to destroy everything we've built. I won't let that happen. Already on it." Izzy pulled up security protocols on her main screen. "I've revoked all of Gwen's access credentials and flagged any attempts to access our systems from her known devices. Ben's monitoring for any unusual activity." A knock at the door interrupted them. Ben Carter entered, his lanky frame hunched over a laptop. Despite his disheveled appearance, Ben's mind was razor-sharp, especially when it came to information gathering. "You're going to want to see this," he said, setting up his laptop. "I've been monitoring Gwen's communications since yesterday. She's been busy." The screen showed a series of text messages between Gwen and Mark. The contents made Elias's blood boil. "We'll destroy him," one message from Gwen read. "I know enough about his business practices to ruin his reputation. And once we're done, I'll take him for everything he's worth." "She's delusional," Izzy scoffed. "Everything she knows about the company is surface level at best." "True," Ben agreed, "but she's made contact with Reggie Davis." Elias's head snapped up. "The embezzler?" "The same. He's still bitter about being fired, and he's willing to help them spread lies about the company." Ben pulled up more messages. "They're planning to accuse you of fraud, claiming you manipulate client data for profit." "They have no proof," Izzy pointed out. "They don't need proof to damage our reputation," Elias replied, his voice hard. "Just the accusation could cost us clients." He stood, pacing the office as he thought. Years of business negotiations had taught him the value of patience, of choosing the perfect moment to strike. But this wasn't business. This was personal. "Ben, I want everything you can find on Mark. Every affair, indiscretion, skeleton in his closet. And I want it documented in a way that's legally admissible." "Already compiling it," Ben nodded. "What about Reggie?" "Monitor him, but don't engage. He's desperate and stupid, a dangerous combination. Let him think he's helping them. It'll make it easier to trap him later." Izzy watched her friend carefully. She'd seen Elias in many moods over the years, focused, angry, determined. But this was different. This was cold, calculated rage. "What's your endgame here?" she asked softly. Elias stopped pacing, turning to face his friends. His expression was carved from stone, eyes glinting with deadly purpose. "They want to destroy what we've built. So we'll take everything from them first. Not just the company or money. Everything they value. Everything they are." "What do you need from us?" Izzy asked, already knowing the answer. She'd seen this side of Elias before, during their early days when competitors had tried to crush their fledgling company. Those companies didn't exist anymore. "Ben, focus on Mark's history. I want to know every woman he's seduced, job he's lost, lie he's told. Pay special attention to his current marriage. His wife, Olivia, might prove useful." Ben nodded, fingers already flying across his keyboard. "I've got some contacts at his previous firms. They might be willing to talk, especially if they're assured of anonymity." "Good. Izzy, I need you to handle the company's public image. When they start spreading their lies, we need to be ready with the truth and proof to back it up." "I'll prepare statements for our major clients," Izzy said, making notes. "We should also review all our security protocols, make sure there are no vulnerabilities they could exploit." Elias's phone buzzed. Another message from Gwen. He read it silently, his jaw tightening. "She's demanding access to our joint accounts," he said. "Claims she needs money for living expenses. She's trying to empty the accounts before the divorce," Izzy warned. "Classic move. Too late." Elias allowed himself a small smile. "I froze everything the day I found out. She has access to her personal account only, the one with her family's money." Ben looked up from his laptop. "Speaking of her family, you might want to see this. I found some interesting transactions in Gwen's personal account. She's been moving large sums of money around, trying to hide her spending." He turned the screen toward Elias, showing a complex web of transfers and purchases. Luxury items, hotel rooms, expensive gifts, all carefully concealed from both Elias and her family. "Her parents still think she's the perfect daughter," Ben explained. "They have no idea she's been burning through their trust fund to finance her affair." "Keep digging," Elias instructed. "I want to know every penny she's spent, lie she's told. Her family's reputation means everything to her. Let's see how they react when they learn the truth." A notification popped up on Ben's screen. "Interesting. Mark just booked a hotel room for tomorrow night. Want me to send you the details?" "No need." Elias stood, straightening his suit jacket. "I have everything I need for now. Tomorrow, we start dismantling their lives. Piece by piece, step by step, until there's nothing left." Izzy and Ben exchanged glances. They'd known Elias long enough to recognize the steel in his voice, the unwavering determination in his eyes. Gwen and Mark had made a fatal mistake. They'd betrayed not just a husband, but a man who'd built his life around protecting what was his. "Keep me updated on any developments," Elias said, heading for the door. "And remember, for now, we watch and gather information. Let them think they're winning." After he left, Izzy turned to Ben. "They have no idea what's coming, do they?" Ben shook his head, returning to his data mining. "Not a clue. Almost makes you feel sorry for them." "Almost," Izzy agreed, "but not quite." Back in his office, Elias reviewed the security footage one more time. He watched Gwen and Mark, their secret meetings, their stolen kisses, their plans to destroy him. Each betrayal fueled his resolve, reinforced his determination to make them pay. He thought of his mother, broken by his father's betrayal. He'd been too young to protect her then, too weak to fight back. But he wasn't that helpless child anymore. He was Elias Thorne, and he would show them exactly what happened to those who dared to cross him. The sun was setting as he finally left the office, casting long shadows across the city. Tomorrow would mark the beginning of his retaliation. Let them plot and scheme. Let them think they held the upper hand. Their time would come, and when it did, they would learn the true meaning of regret. Chapter 4. The Dance of Deception. The conference room at Sterling and Associates buzzed with tension as Gwen and Mark huddled over a stack of documents. Their plan to destroy Elias had hit its first snag. The security footage he'd sent to their boss had resulted in a formal warning for both of them. "He's always one step ahead," Gwen hissed, manicured nails digging into the leather armrest. "We need someone who knows his weaknesses, someone with a grudge." Mark loosened his tie, his usually confident demeanor showing cracks. "What about that guy you mentioned? The one Elias fired?" "Reggie Davis." Gwen's lips curved into a cruel smile. "He was the head of accounting before Elias accused him of embezzlement. He's been itching for payback ever since." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through her contacts. The call connected after 2 rings. "Reggie? It's Gwen Thorne. We need to talk about Elias." An hour later, Reginald Davis sat across from them in a dimly lit bar downtown. Time hadn't been kind to him. His once expensive suit hung loose on his frame, and his eyes darted nervously around the room. "You want to take down Elias?" Reggie's laugh was bitter. "Get in line. That bastard destroyed my career. I lost everything because of him. We have resources," Mark leaned forward, "and inside information. All we need is your knowledge of the company's operations." "He'll see you coming," Reggie warned. "He sees everything." "Not this time." Gwen's voice dripped with venom. "We'll start with rumors, subtle ones. Questions about client data handling, suggestions of impropriety. Nothing direct, just enough to make people wonder." At Thorne Solutions, Izzy monitored the situation through her network of contacts. She'd placed loyal employees strategically throughout the company, alerting her to any whispers of dissent. "They're moving faster than we expected," she reported to Elias during their morning briefing. 3 clients have already called, asking about data security protocols." Elias sat behind his desk, his posture relaxed despite the brewing storm. "Let them play their game." Ben emerged from his corner workstation. "I've set up a counter-surveillance system. Anytime they access our network, we'll know. I'm also feeding them carefully crafted misinformation." "And Mark's wife?" "Olivia Sterling." Ben projected her image onto the wall screen. "Old money, impeccable social connections. She has no idea about Mark's extracurricular activities." "Make sure she finds out," Elias commanded. "Not directly. We need this to appear organic. Already in motion. I've arranged for certain evidence to reach her through a trusted friend." Izzy studied her old friend's face. Others might have seemed calm, but she recognized the predator lurking beneath the surface. "What's our play with Reggie? Let him think he's useful to them. His desperation makes him sloppy." Elias pulled up a document on his tablet. "Meanwhile, I've scheduled a meeting with Claire." Clarissa Bellwether's office exuded power and competence. The veteran attorney reviewed Elias's evidence. "The footage is damning," she noted. "Combined with the documented threats against your company, we're in a strong position." "But they're not sitting idle." "No," Elias agreed. They're trying to paint me as controlling, manipulative. Classic deflection. Let them try. Claire's smile was sharp. I've dealt with worse. We'll file the divorce papers next week. Catch them off guard while they're focused on their smear campaign. Back at Sterling and Associates, Gwen and Mark's plan gained momentum. Whispers spread through the office. Questions about Thorn Solutions practices, hints of data manipulation. Reggie provided them with enough technical details to make their accusations sound plausible. It's working, Mark crowed, showing Gwen an industry blog post questioning Elias's methods. People are starting to doubt him. Gwen wasn't so sure. She knew her husband, knew the cold calculation behind his apparent inaction. We need to push harder. Make it personal. What do you suggest? We expose his past. The troubled childhood, the family issues. Make him look unstable. She pulled out a file, documents she'd collected during their marriage. We paint him as a man obsessed with control, damaged by his own history. Neither of them noticed the tiny camera in the office plant, or the way their emails were being subtly redirected through Ben's monitoring system. In his private office, Elias watched their machinations with grim satisfaction. They thought they were winning, thought their petty schemes were working. Let them believe it. His phone buzzed, a message from Ben. OS received the package. Reaction incoming. Across town, Olivia Sterling stared at her phone in horror. Photos, messages, hotel receipts. Evidence of her husband's multiple affairs spanning years. Her hands shook as she dialed her father's number. Daddy, I need our family lawyer. Now. The pieces were falling into place. Elias leaned back in his chair, allowing himself a moment of satisfaction. Let them spread their rumors. Let them think they had the upper hand. They would learn soon enough what it meant to cross him. Chapter 5. The Unraveling. Mark Davidson's world imploded on a Wednesday morning. He strode into his office at Sterling and Associates, chin high, still riding the high of their supposed victory over Elias. The CEO's secretary intercepted him before he reached his desk. Mr. Davidson, HR needs to see you immediately. The conference room held 3 people. The HR director, a company lawyer, and Mark's blood ran cold, Olivia's father, Harrison Sterling. The old man's face was carved from granite. Sit down, Mark. Harrison's voice could have frozen hell. We need to discuss your extracurricular activities. 2 hours later, Mark stumbled out of the building, personal items in a box, security escort at his heels. His phone buzzed constantly. Olivia's lawyers, demanding responses to divorce papers. HR, detailing the terms of his suspension pending investigation. Journalists, asking for comment on allegations of workplace sexual harassment. He called Gwen in a panic. They know everything. Pictures, hotel receipts, emails. Someone sent it all to Olivia. In her own office, Gwen felt ice spreading through her veins. She'd underestimated Elias again. Her phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. How's your day going, dear? She hurled the phone against the wall. At Thorn Solutions, Izzy delivered the latest intelligence. Mark's suspension is official. Harrison Sterling is personally involved, apparently. He's furious about the scandal touching his family name. And Olivia? Elias asked, examining financial reports. Filed for divorce this morning. Her father's legal team is handling it. Izzy's smile was vicious. They're going for blood? Ben joined them, laptop in hand. You want to see this? Reggie's been busy. Security footage showed Reggie following Elias's car, taking photos of the building entrances. Another clip captured him meeting a man in a sleek black car. The driver's interesting, Ben noted. Known associate of Silas Corbin. Elias sat forward. The fixer? The same. Looks like our friends are getting desperate. Track them, Elias ordered. I want to know everywhere Reggie goes. Everyone he meets. Already on it. I've got GPS trackers on both his vehicles and remote access to his phone. Gwen's next move was predictable. She tried damage control. Her email arrived that afternoon. Elias, we need to talk. Things have gotten out of hand. Maybe we can work something out? He deleted it without responding. Later that night, Ben's monitoring system flagged suspicious activity. Reggie had access to secure parking garage near Thorn Solutions, using a clone security pass. He's planning something, Ben warned. Want me to alert security? No, Elias's voice was cold. Let him think he succeeded. We'll use this. The next morning, Reggie met Gwen and Mark at their usual bar. His hands shook as he downed his third whiskey. It's done, he slurred. Tracking devices on his car, bugs in the garage. We'll know everywhere he goes. Excellent. Gwen's smile didn't reach her eyes. She'd noticed Mark's increasing nervousness, the way he jumped at shadows. And our other friend? Still wants to meet. Says he has a proposition. Mark blanched. The fixer? Isn't that too far? Too far? Gwen's laugh was harsh. Elias destroyed your life, your marriage. He's trying to destroy mine. How is anything too far? Back at Thorn Solutions, Elias reviewed the surveillance footage of their meeting. Each word, each plan, carefully recorded and cataloged. They're getting sloppy, Izzy observed. Desperate. Good. Elias pulled up another screen. How's our counter-surveillance? In place. Any data they collect is what we want them to see. Ben gestured to his monitors. They think they're tracking you, but they're following a ghost. Elias nodded. And our friend Silas? Known player in corporate sabotage. Specializes in making problems disappear. Izzy's expression darkened. We should take precautions. Already done? Elias pressed a button, bringing up building security feeds. I've doubled the security team, upgraded all access protocols. Let them try. The day ended with another piece falling into place. Harrison Sterling calling an emergency board meeting at his firm. Mark's suspension became termination, his reputation in tatters. Olivia's divorce proceedings painted him as a predator, a manipulator of vulnerable women. Gwen watched her lover crumble, saw the fear replace his former confidence. She felt her own world shrinking, options disappearing one by one. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from Elias. Running out of moves? Aren't you? She poured herself a drink with trembling hands. They needed Silas now. Needed someone who could match Elias's ruthlessness. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that each desperate move only tightened the noose Elias had placed around their necks. Chapter 6. Shadows and Schemes. The black sedan pulled up to the warehouse at midnight. Gwen stepped out, Mark close behind her. The building loomed before them, its windows dark except for a single light on the second floor. A man met them at the door, tall, lean, with eyes like Arctic ice. Miss Sterling. Mr. Davidson. Welcome. Silas Corbin's office reflected its owner. Elegant, minimalist, dangerous. He sat behind a glass desk, hands folded like a chess master contemplating his next move. Your problem is interesting, he said, voice smooth as aged whiskey. Elias Thorn. He's not an easy man to break. That's why we came to you. Gwen leaned forward. We need more than corporate sabotage. We need him ruined. Silas's smile never reached his eyes. Everything has a price. Money's not an issue. Gwen pulled out a bank statement, her trust fund balance. Name it. Meanwhile, at Thorn Solutions, Ben's surveillance system captured every word. Elias watched the meeting unfold, noting each participant's body language, each nuance of conversation. They're crossing a line, Izzy warned. Silas doesn't play games. Neither do I. Elias pulled up another screen, detailed files on Silas's organization. How's our security upgrade? Complete. New protocols enhance surveillance. The team's on high alert. Ben interrupted them. Movement at the warehouse. They're leaving. Wait. He zoomed in on the footage. Silas's men are following them. As expected, Elias pressed a button on his desk. Security team, be advised. We have shadows. The next day brought the first test of their defenses. 3 men attempted to breach Thorn Solutions' parking garage. The security team was waiting. The fight was brief but brutal. When it ended, Silas's men retreated, leaving behind equipment and blood. Inside his office, Elias watched the footage with cold satisfaction. Send the cleanup bill to Silas, he instructed Izzy. Let him know we're paying attention. Gwen received the message during a lunch meeting with Mark. Her phone displayed images of the failed attack, followed by a single text, Strike 1. He knew, she whispered, face pale. He knew they were coming. Mark pushed away his untouched food. This is insane. Silas promised subtlety. Nothing about this is subtle anymore. Gwen's voice cracked. But we can't stop. Don't you see? We're committed now. Across town, Claire Bellwether presented Elias with updated divorce papers. We can use this, she said, indicating reports of Gwen's involvement with Silas. Criminal conspiracy, endangerment. She'll lose everything. Good. Elias signed the documents. And her family? Harrison Sterling called. He's displeased with his daughter's choices. That afternoon, Gwen's world shrank further. Her father's lawyer delivered a notice. Her trust fund access had been suspended pending investigation of suspicious activities. She called Silas in a panic. His response was cold. This changes nothing. You still owe me. In their high-rise apartment, Mark paced like a caged animal. We need to cut our losses. Run? Run where? Gwen's laugh was hysterical. He'll find us. He finds everything. Their phones buzzed simultaneously. More photos, this time of their meeting with Silas, accompanied by detailed financial records of their payment to him. How? Mark collapsed onto the couch. How does he always know? At Thorn Solutions, Ben monitored their reactions with professional detachment. They're unraveling. Silas won't be happy they've been compromised. Good. Elias reviewed the latest security footage. Keep watching. They'll try something desperate soon. He was right. That night, Silas's men made another attempt, this time targeting Elias's home. They found themselves facing not just security guards, but a fully prepared tactical team. The resulting confrontation left 3 of Silas's men in custody and his reputation damaged. The message was clear. Elias Thorne was not prey. He was the predator. In his office, Elias watched Gwen and Mark's panicked reactions to the news. Their plan had backfired spectacularly, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. Your move, he murmured, sending them one final message, strike 2. The war had escalated, but only one side was truly prepared for what was coming. As night fell over the city, Elias reviewed his next moves, each one calculated to deliver maximum impact. Let them scheme in the shadows. He would show them what true darkness looked like. Chapter 7. The Price of Hubris. Silas Corbin's warehouse office buzzed with activity as his men prepared for another strike against Thorn Solutions. The failed attempts had cost him both money and reputation. He stood at his desk, reviewing security footage when his phone buzzed, an unknown number. Speak, he barked. Hello, Silas. The voice was calm, controlled. We should talk. Silas's hand tightened on the phone. Thorn, you've got nerve. I'm standing outside your office. Shall we discuss this face to face? The security feed confirmed it. Elias Thorne stood at the warehouse entrance alone. Silas nodded to his guards. Bring him up. Search him first. Minutes later, Elias sat across from Silas, his posture relaxed despite the armed men flanking him. Your reputation preceded you, he said, his voice carrying no trace of fear. I expected better. You think you're untouchable? Silas leaned forward. I've broken stronger men than you. Have you? Elias pulled out his phone, sliding it across the desk. Take a look. The screen displayed detailed records, financial transactions, communications, locations of safe houses. Silas's empire laid bare. I know everything, Elias continued. Your operations, your clients, your hiding spots. One button and it all goes to the FBI. Silas laughed, but his eyes betrayed his unease. You're bluffing? Try me. Elias's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. I'm not here to threaten you, Silas. I'm here to warn you. Back off now, or I'll destroy everything you've built. You think you could just walk in here and... I already have. Elias stood. Check your accounts. Silas grabbed his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. His face paled as screen after screen showed frozen assets, compromised accounts. This is temporary, Elias said. A demonstration. Cross me again, and it becomes permanent. He walked out, leaving Silas staring at the wreckage of his financial empire. Across town, Mark Davidson sat in his empty apartment, surrounded by divorce papers and termination notices. His phone rang Gwen's number. They're destroying us, she said without preamble. Silas was supposed to fix this. Fix this? Mark laughed bitterly. Look at us, Gwen. My career's over. Olivia's lawyers are taking everything. All because we thought we could beat him. We still can. We just need... Need what? Mark's voice cracked. Face it, Gwen. We lost. He's smarter, stronger, better prepared. He's always been 10 steps ahead. At Thorn Solutions, Ben monitored their conversation with professional detachment. Mark's breaking. He reported to Elias. Gwen's still in denial. Show them what else we have. Elias nodded to Izzy. Release the next batch. Within hours, Mark's predatory history hit the media. Anonymous sources provided documentation of his pattern. The married women, the workplace harassment, the hush settlements. His phone exploded with calls from journalists, former victims, angry relatives. He tried reaching Olivia, desperate to explain, but her father's security blocked his every attempt. Harrison Sterling had ensured his former son-in-law would never work in finance again. Gwen watched her lover crumble, her own world shrinking by the day. Her family's lawyer delivered another blow. All access to family funds cut off, her trust fund frozen pending investigation of criminal associations. She made one last attempt to reach Elias, appearing at his office unannounced. Security stopped her in the lobby. Please, she begged the receptionist. Just 5 minutes. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I'll do anything. Upstairs, Elias watched the security feed. Send her this, he instructed Ben. Gwen's phone buzzed with a video, footage of her plotting with Silas, discussing ways to destroy her husband. The message below read, "Sorry doesn't fix betrayal." That same afternoon, police arrested Reggie Davis. Anonymous tips had led them to evidence of his embezzlement, along with his recent criminal conspiracies. They found him trying to flee the city, a bag of cash in his trunk. "I can give you names," he shouted as they led him away. "I know things about Thorn Solutions." The detective smiled. "We know. Mr. Thorne provided quite a comprehensive file on your activities." In his office, Elias watched the dominoes fall. Mark broken and unemployable. Reggie facing years in prison. Silas, his operation crippled. And Gwen, finally understanding the true cost of betrayal. "Is it enough?" Izzy asked softly. Elias's expression remained cold. "Not yet. They chose this path. Now they'll walk it to the end." Chapter 8. The Architect of Destruction. The Sterling family's annual charity gala should have been Gwen's moment of triumph. Instead, she stood outside the venue, security blocking her entrance. "I'm Harrison Sterling's daughter," she protested, her designer dress a poor mask for her desperation. "We have strict instructions, Miss Sterling," the guard replied. "You're not on the list?" Her phone buzzed, images from inside the gala. Her parents, her siblings, her entire social circle, all carrying on without her. The message beneath read, "Actions have consequences." Later that night, her father's email arrived. "Gwendolyn, the board has reviewed the evidence of your recent activities. Your association with known criminals, your attempt to destroy an upstanding businessman's reputation, your betrayal of family values. These actions cannot be ignored. Effective immediately, you are cut off from all family resources. Your trust fund has been permanently frozen. You are no longer welcome at family functions or properties. You made your choices. Now live with them." Father. Across town, Mark sat in a dingy bar, drowning his sorrows. His phone contained 57 rejected job applications, 3 restraining orders from former victims, and a final message from Olivia's lawyers. She'd won everything in the divorce. "Another," he signaled the bartender, hands shaking. A man sat beside him, one of Silas's thugs. "Boss wants his money." "I don't have it," Mark whispered. "Everything's gone. Thorne took it all. Not our problem. Pay up, or things get ugly." At Thorn Solutions, Elias reviewed the latest reports. His team had systematically dismantled his enemies' lives, piece by piece. "Gwen's credit cards are maxed out," Ben noted. "She's been sleeping in her car since the apartment lease terminated. Mark's being hounded by Silas's collectors," Izzy added. "He tried applying for jobs in 3 different states. Our contacts blocked him each time." "And Silas?" "FBI's building a case. Our anonymous tips provided quite a roadmap." Elias nodded, satisfaction flickering in his eyes. "Send the final package." The next morning, Gwen's remaining friends received detailed documentation of her betrayals. Not just of Elias, but of them. Private conversations where she'd mocked them, secrets she'd exposed, lies she'd spread to manipulate their relationships. Her phone buzzed constantly with angry messages, former friends cutting ties one by one. She drove to her sister's house, desperate for support, but found only locked doors and drawn curtains. Mark's situation deteriorated further. Silas's men caught up with him outside his cheap motel, delivering a message with their fists. He crawled back to his room, only to find an eviction notice on the door. In a final, desperate move, he went to Thorn Solutions. He made it to the lobby before security intercepted him. "I need to see him," he shouted, his face bruised from Silas's men. "Please, he's ruined everything. At least let me face him." Elias watched from his office as security dragged Mark away. "Send the footage to Gwen," he instructed. "Let her see what her choices have wrought." Gwen received the video while sitting in her car, her last refuge. She watched Mark's pathetic display, understanding finally hitting home. They'd thought themselves so clever, so righteous in their betrayal. Now they had nothing, no money, no friends, no future. Her phone buzzed one final time. A message from Elias: "Congratulations. You wanted to destroy my life. Instead, you destroyed your own." At that moment, police cars surrounded Silas's warehouse. The FBI had enough evidence to move on his operation. They found extensive documentation of criminal activities, all conveniently organized and accessible. Silas knew who was responsible. As agents led him away in handcuffs, his phone delivered one last message: "I warned you." In his office, Elias watched the culmination of his revenge. He had wielded their own weapons against them: Gwen's social manipulation, Mark's predatory nature, Silas's criminal tactics. Each one had fallen to their own poison. "It's done," Izzy said softly. "Almost," Elias replied, his voice cold. "They need to understand one final thing. This isn't just revenge. This is justice." Chapter 9. The Quiet Victory. 1 year later, Elias stood at the podium of the newly established Thorn Foundation for Survivors of Betrayal. The audience included therapists, lawyers, and victims seeking support and guidance. "Betrayal doesn't have to define you," he told them. "It can strengthen you, teach you, help you build something better from the ashes." In the front row, Izzy and Ben sat proudly. They'd helped him channel his experience into something meaningful, something that could help others navigate similar storms. After the speech, Claire Bellwether approached with news. "The divorce is final," she reported. "Gwen gets nothing. The prenup held, and her criminal associations voided any claim she might have had. And the others?" "Reggie took a plea deal. 15 years for embezzlement and conspiracy. Silas is facing federal charges. He'll die in prison. Mark," she checked her notes, "last seen working as a dishwasher in Nevada. No one will hire him for anything else." Elias nodded, satisfaction evident in his bearing. He demanded justice, and he delivered it not just for himself, but for all of Silas's victims, all of Mark's targets, everyone who'd suffered from their actions. Later that evening, he met with his therapist, Dr. Sarah Chun. He'd started sessions 6 months ago, not from weakness, but from a desire to process his experiences productively. "You've built something remarkable," she noted. "The foundation is helping hundreds of people." "They needed to understand they weren't powerless," Elias replied. "That betrayal doesn't mean defeat." And Gwen, living in a studio apartment in Chicago, working retail, her family hasn't spoken to her in months. He felt no joy in this, only a cold satisfaction that justice had been served. At home, he sat in his study, reviewing applications for the foundation's support programs. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Please," Gwen's message read. "I have nothing left. Can't we talk?" He deleted it without response. Some bridges once burned should stay destroyed. The foundation grew, helping others reclaim their lives after betrayal. Elias found purpose in this work, not because he'd forgiven or forgotten, but because he'd transformed his pain into power. Izzy and Ben remained by his side, their loyalty proven through fire. They understood, as few did, that true strength came not from avoiding pain, but from channeling it into purpose. "You know," Izzy remarked one evening. They probably think they've learned their lesson. They've learned about consequences, Elias corrected. But lessons? People like them never really learn. They just find new victims. Unless someone stops them. Exactly. He surveyed his empire. The company stronger than ever. The foundation growing. His enemies reduced to cautionary tales. That's why we do this. Not for revenge, but for justice. The sun set on a new chapter. Elias Thorne had emerged not just victorious, but transformed. He'd faced betrayal and forged it into strength, turned vengeance into purpose. In his office at the foundation, a single photo remained from his old life, his wedding day. He kept it not as a reminder of love lost, but as a testament to lessons learned. Trust, once broken, was irreparable. Loyalty, once betrayed, was forever lost. But from those harsh truths, he built something lasting, something that would help others rise from similar ashes, stronger and wiser. The storm had passed, leaving him not just unbroken, but unbreakable. Epilogue. 5 years later, the Thorne Foundation's annual gala filled the grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton. 5 years had transformed what began as a small support organization into a powerful force for change, helping thousands of betrayal survivors rebuild their lives. At the center of it all stood Elias Thorne, now approaching 50, his presence commanding respect from the gathered elite of business and philanthropy. Mr. Thorne, a young reporter from the Wall Street Journal approached, notebook in hand. Your foundation's grown exponentially. What drives its continued success? Elias adjusted his perfectly tailored suit, his expression measured. Understanding, we don't just offer financial support or legal aid. We help people reclaim their power. The reporter nodded, scribbling quickly. And the recent expansion into corporate ethics training? Prevention is as important as cure, Elias replied. We teach companies to recognize and stop predatory behavior before it destroys lives. Across the room, Isabel Hayes supervised the event coordination. The years had strengthened her partnership with Elias, their shared experience forging an unbreakable bond. Thorne Solutions had tripled in size under their joint leadership, becoming a dominant force in cybersecurity. The Singapore office numbers just came in, she reported, joining Elias after the reporter left. We're ahead of projections by 20%. Ben's new security protocols are selling well. They're calling it revolutionary. Speaking of Ben, Benjamin Carter appeared, his former disheveled appearance replaced by sharp professionalism. He'd emerged from the shadows of his tech role to become a respected authority on digital security, though he still preferred working behind the scenes. You'll want to see this, he said, showing them his tablet. Just intercepted an interesting email. The screen displayed a message from a familiar name, Mark Davidson. After 5 years of menial jobs and failed attempts to rebuild his life, he was trying to reinvent himself as a business consultant in Nevada. He's targeting small companies, Ben explained. Same pattern married women vulnerable positions. Send them the file, Elias commanded. Make sure they understand exactly who they're dealing with. Within hours, Mark's latest attempt at resurrection crumbled. His potential clients received comprehensive documentation of his history, his predatory patterns, his destroyed career. His phone would soon fill with cancellations and warnings to stay away. Izzy watched the aftermath on her tablet. Still keeping tabs on all of them? Knowledge is power, Elias replied. They earned lifetime monitoring. The intelligence reports painted a grim picture of their former enemies' lives. Mark lived in a small apartment above a diner where he washed dishes, his attempts at redemption consistently thwarted by his past. His ex-wife Olivia had remarried, her family's connections ensuring Mark could never rebuild in legitimate business. Gwen's fate proved equally bleak. The once proud socialite worked retail in Chicago, living paycheck to paycheck in a studio apartment. Her family maintained their absolute rejection. She hadn't been invited to her own father's funeral the previous year. Her attempts to date inevitably failed when her history surfaced, her reputation permanently poisoned. Silas Corbin served his sentence in maximum security, his criminal empire dismantled, his connections severed. The FBI had used Elias's evidence to unravel dozens of related operations, earning Thorn Solutions contracts and commendations. Reggie Davis suffered in prison, his sentence extended for bad behavior. Fellow inmates, informed of his role in targeting legitimate businesses, ensured his stay remained unpleasant. Mr. Thorne? His assistant approached. Dr. Chin is here for your meeting. Sarah Chun, now the Foundation's head of psychological services, had helped Elias transform his experience into a force for positive change. Their weekly sessions had evolved from therapy to strategic planning for the Foundation's mental health programs. Sarah, he greeted her warmly. How's the new support group program? Extremely effective, she replied, taking a seat in the private conference room. Your personal involvement makes a difference. When survivors see how you channeled your experience, they understand they're not victims unless they choose to be. The Foundation's reach extended beyond personal betrayals. They worked with corporations to identify and prevent toxic behavior, offered legal support to victims of fraud and manipulation, and funded research into psychological recovery. Elias's experience had created a comprehensive approach to justice and healing. His personal life remained carefully controlled. He dated occasionally, but maintained strict boundaries. Trust, once shattered, never fully recovered its innocence. He found satisfaction in his work, his friendships, and the knowledge that he'd turned personal pain into public good. The New York Times piece came out, Izzy mentioned, joining them with her tablet. They're calling you the guardian of justice, highlighting how the Foundation's work has changed corporate culture. Public opinion supports our mission, Elias noted. It makes the next phase easier. The next phase was ambitious, global expansion of both the Foundation and Thorn Solutions. They'd identified similar patterns of betrayal and predatory behavior worldwide, creating opportunities to extend their influence and protection. London office opens next month, Ben added. We've already got a waiting list for services. Their success bred attempts at replication, but none matched the Foundation's effectiveness. The combination of Elias's vision, Izzy's organizational skills, and Ben's technical expertise created an unbeatable force for accountability. Later that evening, after the gala wound down, Elias sat in his home office reviewing files. An email caught his attention, another plea from Gwen, routed through the Foundation's general contact form. Please, she wrote. I've changed. I just want a chance to apologize, to show I understand my mistakes. The Foundation's about redemption, isn't it? His response was swift and final. The Foundation is about justice. Your role is to serve as a warning to others. That is your redemption. He'd received similar messages over the years from Mark, from Reggie, once even from Silas. Each sought forgiveness, a chance to rewrite their story. Each failed to understand a fundamental truth. Some choices permanently altered life's trajectory. Still monitoring the outliers? Izzy asked, bringing in their evening strategy reports. Always. Elias turned to the latest intelligence. Mark tried creating a new identity last month. Ben's algorithms caught it immediately. He's persistent, I'll give him that. Persistence without reform is just continued predation. He hasn't changed, just adapted. They never really do. The Foundation's research supported this conclusion. Their studies showed that true reform was rare among betrayers. Most simply sought new victims, new opportunities, new ways to exploit trust. This understanding drove their prevention programs, teaching people to recognize and avoid toxic patterns. Thorn Solutions had evolved too. Their security systems now included behavioral analysis, identifying potential threats before they materialized. Companies worldwide used their protocols to protect against both external and internal threats. Tokyo's requesting a custom package, Ben reported, pulling up the specifications. Their corporate culture creates unique vulnerabilities. Adapt the Singapore protocols, Elias instructed, but strengthen the personal relationship monitoring. Different culture, same human nature. Their expansion brought increased attention from media and competitors. Profiles attempted to paint Elias as either a tragic victim or a ruthless avenger. None captured the truth. He was simply a man who'd refused to be defeated, who'd transformed personal justice into universal protection. The Foundation's case files told thousands of stories. Betrayed spouses who'd rebuilt their lives. employees who'd exposed corporate corruption, victims who'd found strength and solidarity. Each success reinforced their mission. The support network's expanding, Sarah noted, reviewing participant data. Peer counseling shows remarkable results. People need to see living proof of survival, Elias agreed. Show them strength. They'll find their own. His own story remained a powerful testimony. He shared it carefully, using his experience to illuminate the path from victim to victor. The Foundation's participants drew inspiration from his refusal to be broken, his transformation of pain into purpose. The years had refined his methods. Where once he'd sought personal vengeance, now he built systems to prevent others from suffering similar fates. His enemies' continued struggles served as perpetual warnings, their lives testament to the cost of betrayal. Did you see this? Izzy handed him a tablet open to a business news site. Mark's latest venture had collapsed spectacularly, his attempts at reinvention thwarted by his unchangeable past. Forward it to the prevention team, Elias instructed. His patterns useful for training. They developed profiles of various predatory types, using real cases to teach recognition and response. Mark's history provided a perfect example of workplace predation, while Gwen illustrated the dangers of social manipulation. The Foundation's legal team, led by Claire Bellwether, had expanded into class action suits against corporate enablers of abuse. Their successes forced companies to implement stronger protective policies, creating systemic change. The Richardson case settled, Claire reported via video call. Full compensation for victims, mandatory protocol changes. Good. Use it to pressure their competitors. Make compliance the only viable option. His influence extended beyond business and personal relationships. Law enforcement agencies sought their expertise in tracking complex betrayals. Universities incorporated their research into psychology and business ethics programs. Ben's technical team continued refining their monitoring systems. Facial recognition caught Gwen trying to attend a charity event in Detroit, he noted. Old hunting grounds. Inform the organizers. Standard package. The standard package ensured potential victims knew the risks. Gwen's attempts to rebuild her social connections inevitably collapsed when her history surfaced. Her isolation was both punishment and prevention. As midnight approached, Elias reviewed the day's achievements. The Foundation's gala had raised millions for expansion. Thorn Solutions' new contracts strengthened their market position. Their mission advanced on all fronts. Tomorrow's schedule? He asked his assistant through the intercom. Board meeting at 9. Foundation review at 11. 2 potential major donors for lunch. Prevention team presentation at 3. He nodded satisfied. Each day brought new opportunities to reinforce their message. Betrayal carried consequences, justice prevailed, and survivors could emerge stronger. The city lights sparkled beyond his office windows. Somewhere out there, his former enemies endured the lives they'd chosen. Their suffering no longer brought him joy. It was simply necessary, a perpetual reminder that action spawned inescapable consequences. Izzy appeared in his doorway. Car's ready. Dinner with the Tokyo team tomorrow night. They're flying in early. Good. Have Ben prepare the Asia-Pacific briefing. Their empire continued growing, built on a foundation of trust and accountability. Each expansion spread their influence, their protection, their dedication to justice. 5 years, Izzy mused as they headed out. Did you imagine we'd come this far? This far is just the beginning, Elias replied. There's always another betrayal to prevent, another predator to stop, another victim to help. His words echoed through the quiet office. The Foundation's motto hung on the wall: justice through strength, healing through action. Simple words that had transformed countless lives, including his own. The betrayal that could have destroyed him had instead created something powerful, something lasting. His enemies remained trapped in the consequences of their choices, while he continued building, growing, protecting. It wasn't just revenge anymore. It was evolution. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, Check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.